Hello, beautiful people. Many of you were asking me for the resources of Linux, and personally, I learned it from various resources. And in this tutorial series, I will tell you everything you need to know, and I will be covering many things. So just stay tuned and watch this whole video, and do like, share, and subscribe. And if you are following my videos, and if you have any suggestions, do let me know. So the first thing you need to know is who is the creator of Linux. So this man is the creator of Linux, that is Linus Torvalds. So when it was created actually, so it was created on September 17 in 1991. It is written in C and assembly language. You can check the GitHub link of this project if you want to know more about this. And let me show you first. So this is the Linux project that is maintained by Linus Torvalds itself. And if you see, the languages involved are C, C++, assembly, shell, Objective-C, Makefile, and others. But the most of the project is written in C language. So you can see here that is 96.6% of the Linux kernel is written in C. So the first question that may come in your mind, that what is Linux? So most of the people get confused that it's an operating system or it's a kernel. What it is actually. So Linux is a kernel. Okay. Linux is a family of open source Unix like operating system based on Linux kernel. So whenever you use the term Linux, it is Linux kernel. Linux is typically packaged in a Linux distribution. I'll talk about the different distributions of Linux in the upcoming videos. So why to learn or use Linux? The number one thing you need to know is high security. Nowadays, everyone needs security, right? Security in Linux is more stable when compared to Windows. So if you have installed any third-party software, chances are that the program may alter the system settings and configuration settings, and it can lead into unnecessary virus and malware. And we don't need that in our system. So to keep the system secure, it is advisable to add ClamAV antivirus software in Linux. Second thing is high stability. Are you all tired of updating? Oh, sorry. Windows get automatically updated without asking you. You can see this meme and you will totally relate this if you are both Windows user, if you have used Windows and Linux both, and whenever Windows update is given, it will not ask you for any update, it will directly update it and reboot it. But if you talk about the Linux update, it will ask you if you want to do an update, this update is available, and if you want to install it on your system. So Linux is good in that. So uh, no uninvited updates. And Linux server don't need any reboot while Windows need that, and you all know that. Due to this nature of Linux, most of the web servers are hosted on Linux, and it has the highest number of servers on the internet. And you won't believe that most of the internet is running on Linux systems. Okay. Third thing is ease of maintenance. When the Windows is updated, there can be many hardware changes, but in Linux, as it doesn't need any reboot, and it also has a central software repository which is capable of installing the software and keep it safe. So Linux is user friendly for students and new learners because it doesn't need any high-end systems to start with, so they will be learning more in Linux. Number 4 is running on any hardware. With every Windows update, the hardware becomes obsolete and the technical specification no longer matches with the software updates. And we just can't change our hardware every single time. So in Linux, it is completely different. This meme is very related to Linux because you don't need to worry about any hardware changes. You don't need to change your hardware whenever you update your Linux system. Okay. Next is it's free and open source. As it's free, it's the best for student community, and not only that, businesses use this to reduce their IT costs by effectively utilizing them. Linux software comes under FOSS category. What is FOSS? FOSS is free and open source software. And when we talk about open source, that means the code is available for all, and if you wish to develop anything, then you can just contribute to the repository that I have previously shown. But for that, you have to learn and you should be able to know the code base of that Linux. And what's that? It's completely based on C. Then you need the knowledge of C and the kernel. So these are the most important thing. Next is benefits of learning Linux. Benefits is that if you are interested in learning any new technology, then just go for Linux. And if you are in your first year, second year, then you must have a subject called Linux, and it's perfect time to learn it, and it's almost used in every company. Every single server is mostly used in Linux, and all the servers are Linux based, and it's pretty good to learn this technology. And if you learn this, you won't regret it. Next is features of Linux. Number one is open source. We all know what is open source. Number two is multi-user. So if you have installed one operating system, let's suppose Fedora, that is a distribution of Linux, then you can work in a multi-user environment. Number three is multi-programming and portable hierarchical file system shell security. I will discuss all of these points in the upcoming videos. Don't worry about that. Applications of Linux. Applications of Linux are numerous, okay, and I'll list some of them. I have listed some of them that are web services, networking, databases, desktop, scientific computing, home computing, supercomputers if you have heard about them. And in my childhood, whenever I heard about supercomputers, I would think that what must have been there? What is it in those computers? What's different from our computer? So it's Linux. Next is game consoles, Android. We are using Android right now, and if you are an Android user, then you must know that it's written on Linux. It uses Linux kernel, which is written on C language. Next is Instagram, and almost the whole internet is using Linux. Whether you know or not, you are surrounded by Linux systems. Companies that are using Linux are, you will see this picture and you will see many tech giants who are using Linux right now. AT&T, Cisco, Google, IBM, eBay, Intel, Red Hat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Every company is using Linux. And also, SpaceX program used Linux. And last thing, why to follow this series? Well, I will be covering everything that I know of Linux. And if you have any video suggestions, then do let me know. I will make those too. And yeah, do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment, and if you like this video or not, everything. Any doubt that you have, you can comment below and you can connect me on my social handles that are given in the description box. Thank you. See you in the next video.